Hey everybody, I don't know about you, but as you've watched out over the world, the war in Russia and Ukraine is not just isolated to Eastern Europe. It's spread all over the world, and you can see it in market instabilities. You can see it here. People who do not think that that war is affecting you, all you got to do is look at gas prices. You look at your food prices. You see the global change that has happened. But you know something that's also affected investments as well. And I've said all along, legacy precious metals is your navigator. They're the ones that see you through to get to the next level. The good news about this is even with market volatility, market instability, you've got options. And gold prices are rising as investors turn to gold. And gold presents a hedge against this inflation and that protects you against the weakening dollar, which we are seeing. Legacy Precious Metals is the only company I trust to deal with gold and silver and the other precious metals. You need this investment. You need this as part of your portfolio to keep you buffered from what we're seeing in the world, war and volatility in the market. This is where you need to be. Call Legacy Precious Metals today. Be proactive about this. Get on board with it. Call them at 866-528-1903, 866-528-1903, or you can download their free investor's guide at legacypminvestments.com. legacypminvestments.com, your navigator in a volatile world of investments.
Do you want to listen to a podcast?
By who?
Georgia GOP Congressman Doug Collins.
How is it?
The greatest thing I have ever heard in my whole life.
I could not believe my ears.
In this house, wherever the rules are disregarded, chaos and mob rule. It has been said today, where is bravery? I'll tell you where bravery is found and courage is found. It's found in this minority who has lived through the last year of nothing but rules being broken, people being put down, questions not being answered, and this majority say, be damned with anything else. We're going to impeach and do whatever we want to do. Why? Because we won an election. I guarantee you, one day you'll be back in the minority and it ain't gonna be that fun.
Hey everybody, welcome back on to the Doug Collins Podcast. Glad to have you. If you ever have any ideas or thoughts for the podcast, please go to the DougCollinsPodcast.com, DougCollinsPodcast.com, and hit the little email button. I'd love to hear from you. I hear from you, a lot of you, a lot. Please make sure that you hit that button. Send me your ideas, thoughts for the podcast, what you thought about the podcast, good and bad. We're always trying to make this, something interesting for you when you're out and about, working out, keeping the kids, driving, wherever you may be. We want to be a useful resource, and your feedback does help. Also, if you want to watch this on Rumble, we have our Rumble channel, and you can go there as well to take in the video portion of our podcast. But today I'm going to get started on some topics that we've not talked about in a while, but I think really have got to be examined. And one of the problems that I'm seeing is, most of you know, as we've talked about over time, is that my wife was a school teacher. She now, by the way, she does travel. So if you ever want to travel, we can handle that different line, but you can still the email button. But she's still doing something fun, but she taught for 31 years and enjoyed every minute of it teaching. What she didn't mind was the government mandates and paperwork and everything that took away from the fact of, teaching kids how to read, write, do math, do the basic skills, have communication skills that allow you to go into the world and actually be a productive citizen. It's amazing the stuff that is laid on our schools these days from bureaucrats, mainly in Washington and in the capitals of most states, where they decide, here's what we want to see based on really a lot of times the latest conference that they went to. This is a new thing, let's try it. Instead of saying, hey, what's going on with the kids? My wife, last time I mentioned with Lisa but I heard her say it more than once. I know my kids better than they do. I know what they're doing. I watch them every day. I see them every day. I listen to them every day. I see what they're doing. And if they would, if we could work with them and they would give the freedom that we could, do the things we need to help these kids, we could do so much better. The first thing the edutocracy, if you would, I call it and we've talked about it here on the podcast before, the Randy Weingartners of the world, the public school, the school teacher unions, which are not about kids. They're about teachers, and they're about, benefits for teachers. I mean, if you didn't believe that, just look at the last, few years through the pandemic when they didn't want to go back to school. They didn't want to teach. The rest of the world began to go back to school, and teachers, were not wanting to in many of these, because their unions were saying, we're going to hold out and get you more money. You don't have to go in. And again, not about the kids. And folks, if we don't understand this concept, if we do not put ourselves in a position of understanding that education is the very issue that we need to build on in our country, it's the very thing that gets us further. It's the very thing that improves living conditions. It improves lives. It improves jobs. It improves everything, because it is education that frees you. It doesn't allow you to be, tackled by the tyranny of someone with an idea and a personality. It says, no, we're going to question things. Over the past year, we've heard so much about, trust the science. But yet what many times is actually, in the old analogy from science that I had, is that you looked at something, you questioned it, you had an idea, you tested your question, you tested your hypothesis. You said, okay, does this work? You change the variables and you come out with answers. That is science. That is education. That is learning. And this is where we've got to get back to, because if we don't, we're raising generations that are going to be less equipped, less ready for everyday life, and not just, it's always talked about, well, they want to be scientists or doctors. Well, frankly, you got to be able to do basic skills to be plumbers and carpenters and contractors and electricians, which are wonderful jobs. And folks, I tell you what, I've got, I have doctors that take care of me. I have heart doctors. I have, I could name any doctors that I wanted to take care of me. They take care of me there. But if I have a electrical problem in my house, I'm not calling a lawyer or a doctor or a psychiatrist. I'm calling an electrician. I'm calling a plumber when my plumbing's broke. We've got to understand that all work is valuable, number one. I think that's the biggest issue that we have. All work is valuable. And number two, that we have to prepare folks for a well-rounded, what I say is education. And that's not just in books, but it's in life as well. But what really started this sort of mini rant today for me is a story that was published just recently concerning the school system in Baltimore. And the headline basically was that Baltimore reveals 0 students proficient in math across 23 schools. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. In the city of Baltimore school system, they had, in 23 schools, had 0 students proficient in math. Now, one of the things that when I was in the state legislature, not really as much in the Congress, because Congress doesn't, control school system budgets or like they do in state legislatures. And in state legislatures, one of the biggest issues every year was the education budget. Teachers, teacher groups, others always, saying, more liberal viewpoints, always just put more money into education, put more money into education, put more money into education. That's all they want to say. What was missing was the outcomes. What was many times is saying, okay, we need to put more and more money into education, but getting less and less in the outcomes is foolish. Money itself does not solve the education problem. Money itself is simply, giving a school or raising the teacher salary, which is helpful, and many teachers need to have raises. They deserve far more than what they're getting. But at the end of the day, it's about teacher quality, teacher care. It's about a curriculum. It's about a school environment. It's about, frankly, and some of you may not like to hear this, but it's about a home environment. It's about a parental environment. And some school systems deal with students who don't have that. And you have to make up, at least helping in that regard to provide, some basic necessities. Sometimes it's food. Sometimes it's other things. But this is the kind of things that we need to deal with. What I'm seeing here, though, and before all of you, edutocracy folks out there want to get involved, is Baltimore was spending $21,606 on per pupil. That was the breakdown of their budget to their student spending. So an average cost of about $21,000. Folks, check the numbers. That's just an amazing amount of money, being spent on students in this level. And it's not just the younger grades that was doing this in the public school system. That we had 93% of 3rd through 8th graders also tested below grade level in math. You can't tell me this is a money problem. You can't tell me that all Baltimore has to do is go out and spend more money and all of a sudden you're going to get a better product. No, you're not. You got an inherent problem here. And then it comes down to another interesting issue that I see is the leadership in the schools, for whatever reason, has decided seemingly that this is acceptable. Because if you look at it over the years in the Baltimore school system and you look at the statistics, score changes between 2019 and 2020, and we've seen this all over the country, and this is something that we've got to deal with, is because of COVID, because of the distance learning, because of things, is that math points and reading points 4th and 8th graders between 2019 and 2022 all fell between 5 and 8 points. I mean, this is a real issue that we've got, that is going to be becoming more and more. 2021, 41% of Baltimore public high school students, these are high school students, earn below 1.0 GPA. 1.0. I mean, again, we're not passing here. What is that revealing, to a workforce, around Baltimore, which is a city that in many ways is struggling, and it's struggling in a lot of different ways. But here's the problem that many people have, and looking at the school system and digging into it a little bit, is this traditional system's not working, folks. We are basically taking, and in many of these school systems in poor, diverse neighborhoods is where these schools are located, and we're not giving new ideas, and we're not giving possibilities for those parents who want to get out of those schools to go to another school system. I've said this all along. I do not understand, why there cannot be progress made between Republicans, Democrats, Independents. It doesn't matter what your political ideology here is. We've got to figure out a way that money can go with children to get them to schools that actually matter. It works, folks. Competition works. And if people start leaving the school and parents start making the choice with their feet, so to speak, and you provide a system which provides that choice and provides that ability, transportation and other things to get students to a new school, a school that may try it differently, that may have higher standards, it may do whatever, but give them a chance. But right now we're dooming millions of our young people to a zip code mentality of where they go to school. And it doesn't matter, again, it's amazing to me. We don't have these discussions about, well, this zip code and these two zip codes of these communities are being underserved by schools that aren't performing. And folks, before you say you're just, the teachers can't do it all. No, they can't. I agree with you. Teachers can't do it all. But go into these classrooms, see what the problem is. Many of these teachers are overwhelmed. They got crowded classrooms. They got those are where you put money. Those are where you put extra space. You get more teachers in there, and you give them support they need. But also at a certain point in time, you've also got to provide a learning environment that's not crippled with demands of unions and demand of bureaucrats to teach every other thing except the basics, and get the basics down. And then you can move on to other things. But this idea that it's more of a headline, and $21,000 per student is being spent on this. We wouldn't accept this any other place. We wouldn't. But yet in education, we're doing this. I mean, with all the talk right now about the flying balloons and UFOs and everything else, it reminds me back into the, a time in which, math and science and all were emphasized, and we're going to the moon, or we're going to space, we're flying rockets. And look, integration and helping, all students, male, female, all diversities, no matter what your background is, deserve a chance at a good education. And a good education is not simply putting money or building a building. It's about the infrastructure of what you're teaching, how you're teaching it, and why you're teaching it. And this is something that we've got to, I'm going to look to do later on in the series here on education. It travels all the way into college level as well. But when we're missing the basics early, and we have issues like the pandemic, and we've already gotten behind, these things need to be addressed. And this should be, we always have the call of emergency to violence and everything else, which, valid calls. We need to figure out how public safety and our police work. But at a certain point in time, there needs to be a national discussion on education standard, and school choice. Different ways of providing education have got to be at the center of this. And also going back to a simple fact that all kids need to go to college. I mean, we've got to get away from that concept. All kids need an education, and all kids need to be lifelong learners, and all people need to be lifelong learners. But not all people need to go to college. And there are very much ways that we can go into looking at it. Go back to the GI Bill that I think many believe, really revolutionized the United States coming out of World War II. And it was not just that everybody went to college. They used those money for trade schools as well. They learned the money in building and electrical, and most of the money went to that. So when you deal in that, this is something in education that just has to be done. And I had to start off the show today with that, because it's just amazing to me that we don't, this has not risen, quote, to the level of national importance. I mean, why would it not? I mean, why are we allowing this? And again, for those of you who simply say, "Oh, it needs to be more money," and I've heard every governor address and every the State of the Union, everybody wants to talk about putting more money in education. Well, more money in education that's not accompanied with accountability is simply not going to work. It's just simply going to be more money spent wastefully and aimlessly. In the end of the day, is not going to get results, or it's going to get marginally better results. So we're going to keep on this topic, but folks and parents out there, take an interest in your kids. So many people talk about the presidential races, Senate races, and congressional races, and everything else. But folks, school boards matter. Local school boards matter. Local county commissions, city governments, they matter. And if you're not involved in them, you need to be involved in them. As we look over, some of these things that are going forward, it's just the basics in life. And so sometimes it's not hard. We tend to make life hard. We tend to make it as if, this is this unsolvable problem. It's not unsolvable. And also, before some of you say, well, it's just the neighborhoods these kids are in and the parents in the background. Well, then how is it that schools, or charter schools and private schools and others that take in at no cost, many times with scholarships, these same children who are in failing schools, put them in a structured environment, put them in a new learning environment, put them with new energy, new excitement, and they actually perform off the charts? Folks, don't tell me it can't be done. We're just not doing enough. We're so bent to the old ways of doing things. We're so bent to an agrarian school calendar that starts in August and September and ends in May and June. And again, maybe there's better ways to do it. Let's think about it. But if we don't have this conversation, the only people that we're actually hurting is our kids, and our next generation is going to be the ones that suffer. And we're going to be sitting here wondering, why do we fall behind in as an economic power when we don't have the education system fit for our kids to go out and actually do it? All right, switching gears here for the last little part of the segment on the show today. I have this podcast is following the day after Valentine's Day. And everybody is all up in arms. Oh, I got to get, Valentine's is one of those days, if you're getting a stronger relationship, a breaking up relationship, wherever you're at in a relationship, Valentine's Day is one of those days like, ooh, do I get flowers? Do we got to eat? And, you try to make it special. And if you're trying to impress them, well, I'm going to take a different tack. Do whatever you want to do on Valentine's Day. But now on Wednesday, the day after Valentine's Day, let's talk about how if you have a relationship, you want to keep it. As someone who has been a counselor for many, many years, as a pastor, as a chaplain, I have talked to many, many couples. Some do well, some don't do well. I've had a lot of friends in which we deal with this. And I've had the blessed experience of living and having a partner in life with Lisa for what will be 35 years married in June. And believe me, some of these suggestions I've had to live and relearn and go, but it's important if you want to have that relationship to last. And no matter where you are in your life, no matter where you are in your marriage, no matter where you are in a dating relationship, wherever you are in this, these are things that can help you get better. And so for a day after Valentine's Day thought, let me give you a few things that you need to think about. Beyond the roses, beyond the flowers, beyond the candies, beyond the dinner last night, this is some things that will make those relationships last. First off, learn to listen and communicate. Talking is not listening, and talking is not communicating. If you're simply talking and the other person is not participating, then you're simply basically having a self-chat. Relationships have to be founded in ways in which you can have communication, and communication has to be authentic and honest, and it has to come from a place in which one feels the other is listening. And you may not always agree. Let me very much preface this. You don't have to agree on what the other person is saying, but there has to be an understanding that I respect and I look at what you are doing and what you're saying, and we need to come to a relationship understanding. So listening and commitment and communication are so vitally important. I use this statistic all the time that it's been played out. Most all arguments, and especially in marriage, will somehow whittle themselves down to two basic premises. One is money and the other is sex, bottom line. And they really sort of are mass headings for two individual things in life. Money, dealing in your relationships, what you spend money, time, and everything else on. It's that tangible side of the relationship. Whereas the sex part is the emotional, the physical, the bonding part of the relationship. So out of those two, can basically, clarify and break down most of what people end up having fights about it. So it's amazing how many times though we have alternative fights when we're upset about something in our life, our financial life, our business world, and we take out or we pick fights with our partners, and we're edgy and we end up in fights. And the reality is it's not really whatever they said or whatever they didn't do. It's other things going on in a relationship. And really from a physical relationships, the sex or the intimacy or the caring and the concern and doing things for each other. If you're not getting those, there's some great books out there, the 5 love languages, all these kind of things. All of us have how we like to be expressed and by our significant other is to be loved. And we've got to understand it. So first thing off of after Valentine's Day is great that you had a great Valentine's Day. Now, make sure that you want to keep that going. You got to have communication. You got to be able to listen and be able to react. The other thing is define your comfort zones. This is sort of, I won't touch here long, but find your ways. Some of you need to be together all the time. Some need to have some space, but always find, and I think the biggest issue here is trust. Trust has to be a part of these relationships. And if you can't trust, then all the rest of it's broken, because trust is a very cornerstone of a relationship, whether it be, in your communication and everything else. If you don't trust the other one, then there'll never be a base of really true unconditional support and love. And trust has to be a part of that. So you got to define, hey, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're not going to do. Here's where, this is the things in life that I find is important. And here's what you find important. And here's where we come together. These are the kind of things that we need to look at. The other thing is be yourself. Valentine's Day, you get dressed up, especially if it's early in a relationship. You have that special day that you put everything on. Well, be yourself, but also remember that Valentine's Day is one day a year, and that you need to be the person that you are all the days of the year. And that may mean that, yes, you like to celebrate big events, Valentine's Day, birthdays, Christmases, and all those. But yet you also have to remember that those days are days, and that relationships are years, and that just one day doesn't make a relationship. It doesn't fix everything simply because you got flowers, or you sent him a card, or you made him a dinner, or he took you out, or whatever it is. But as I say all the time, singles matters. Let's go back to a baseball analogy. Everybody likes the home run. Find one pitch, hit it over the mark. Everybody's applauding. We hit a home run. But life is not home runs. Life is a bunch of singles. And that's the way you got to prepare. You get one single, hey, you listened, you took out the trash, you got flowers. Every day of the year, finding a way to be a part of your significant other's life is a single. And again, you load up, one single pushes another single pushes another single. And, this is the way it works. You build that bank of support and bank of emotional caring between each other. And guys, this is more for you than it is for the ladies. We tend to want to think the home run is the answer, that, hey, everything's going to be good. We've not talked, lately. We're not having a good time, but hey, it's Valentine's Day. I'm going to go out and spend, a couple $100 on some roses and a dinner. And we believe, oh, everything's just fine. It's what you're going to find, guys. And I'm going to speak to my guys here for just a sec. You're going to find that the little things most of the time, with our ladies and our partners, work is the small things. It's picking up after yourself. It's maybe doing something that the other one does, that you take. You go buy the groceries this day, or you put up the dishes, or do things. It's small things that mean a lot spread over time that build that relationship. So, look, I hope you had a great Valentine's Day yesterday. I hope everything is in your relationships working. If you want to keep it working for the rest of the year till the next Valentine's Day, these are just a few suggestions for you to take as you go forward. It's helped in 35 years of my marriage. To the most wonderful Valentine I have is Lisa, and I think it can work with you. But find ways to communicate, find time to communicate, undistracted, where you can have those honest conversations, and then do things every day. Valentine's Day doesn't have to be just one day of the year. All right, folks, we're out. Doug Collins Podcast. We'll see you again next time. Hey folks, MyPillow is excited to bring to you their biggest bedding sale ever. For a limited time, you're going to get the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, a set of pillowcases for only $9.98, and rejuvenate your bed with a MyPillow mattress topper for as low as $99.99. $99.99. Get a mattress pillow topper. Look, they come in all sizes. They got all kinds of stuff. Blankets. They've got duvets. They got quilts. They got comforters. They got body pillows. They got bolster pillows. They got all at big, big discounts. And also, they're extending their money-back guarantee for Christmas until March 1, 2023, making them the perfect gift for your friends, your family, and for everyone you know. Folks, and just from a personal note here, I have the Giza Dream Sheets. They're on my bed right now. I slept on them last night. Some of the best sheets that we and Lisa and I have ever owned. They are worth, I mean, at this price, they're a steal. My wife and I have bought bed sheets, linens at much higher cost. It's supposedly much higher quality. These from MyPillow are at the highest of quality, and at a price like this, you can't beat it. So go now to MyPillow.com, use promo code Collins, COLLINS, or call 1-800-986-3994, and you'll get huge discounts on all the MyPillow bedding products, including the Giza Dream bed sheets for as low as $29.98, and get all your shopping done while qualities last. And remember, put in that promo code Collins for these discounts.